It can last 7 days in the world. 7 days. Why? Because the fuel stock can last at most 7 days. In the armed forces, the highest standard is in NATO, and even that is 1 month. The aircraft in this mission group here exceed the strike capabilities of all the countries in this region. The man heading the Israeli branch of the Iranian intelligence service turned out to be an Israeli agent. The lesson here is very simple. So what has Iran done until today? Was Iran really an enemy of Israel? There is a place of critical importance for Turkey, southern Azerbaijan. Who is stronger at sea in the Middle East? Welcome once again. Thank you. Once again, we're at the map with a hot development. We'll be discussing the latest developments between Israel and Iran. Currently, the focus seems to be on air operations, airstrikes, the effect of drones, what will happen on the coast, missile systems. But the maritime front doesn't seem to be getting much attention, which I find striking. Yet it's a critical point that, when involved, can take the process in a very different direction. Looking at the maritime aspect, Hoja, how would you assess the current military presence on the ground? First of all, the United States of America has a force in the Mediterranean. It has a presence in the Red Sea. In Bahrain here, there's the 5th Fleet of the United States of America. It has aircraft carriers. It has destroyers, cruisers here. And on them, there are Tomahawks. There are ballistic missiles. As you know, Israel is not acting alone. It's the United States of America and Israel together. And in this region, in other words, with ballistic missiles, Iran can be significantly subdued or put under pressure. It's already surrounded from the sea. Now, Iran here has the ability to control the Strait of Hormuz. So, by controlling the Strait of Hormuz with its own forces, it can stop or allow the flow of oil. That's a fact. It has that leverage. That's a reality. So, therefore, this control mechanism at sea, I mean the control mechanism of the sea and the Strait of Hormuz, especially in the Persian Gulf, affects the global flow of oil and natural gas, because it's not just carried by pipelines. More than what goes through pipelines is transported by ships, crude oil and natural gas. If this flow stops, or is restricted or reduced, oil and natural gas prices worldwide will go up. And this also means gold prices will rise as well. This situation shows how much control over the seas affects the global economy and people's lives. In fact, this region, Iraqi oil, Saudi Arabian oil, Qatari oil and natural gas, Omani oil and natural gas, this region, the Gulf region, Kuwait, all of them have the potential to affect the supply of global oil and natural gas, and therefore, their prices. If we're to talk about the effects of this Iran-Israel war, one of the key consequences would be a restriction like this, when maritime access becomes limited or even dangerous, as it already has. In cases where ships are bombed or deliberately targeted, the global industry and manufacturing sectors would face serious challenges. In fact, if oil flow is disrupted, the private sector worldwide could only withstand it for a maximum of 7 days. 7 days. Why? Because oil reserves can last a maximum of 7 days. In the armed forces, the highest standard is in NATO, and that's 1 month. NATO countries have reserves for 1 month. After that, even the tanks wouldn't move. Planes wouldn't fly, ships wouldn't sail. But the private sector can only endure for 7 days at most. That's why such crises do not only impact this region, they affect the entire world. Will the U.S. attack Iran? Now, regarding America's military presence in these seas, this is one aspect, and then there's the scenario of intervention. In a potential situation, how could the U.S. intervene, or where would this lead? How can we assess this? The United States has 3 main priorities in this region. First, the survival and security of Israel. That's a constant. Second, the flow of oil to the west without obstruction. That flow must be maintained. Do you see? What happens if oil doesn't flow freely to the west? That's the entire purpose. Third, in the Middle East, aside from the United States, there must not be any other strong actor, other than the U.S. and its allies. Now here, while Israel is carrying out these attacks to ensure its survival and security, it also prevents any power other than the United States and its allies from rising in the Middle East. And at the same time, the free flow of oil to the west must somehow be maintained. This will be ensured. Even if it is interrupted for 3 to 5 days, it will be ensured. States like the United States will inevitably ensure this, even if oil prices rise. Other actors, like Russia, for example, will also benefit from this. If oil prices go up, the Russian economy will soar. Demand for their resources will also rise. Meanwhile,